The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to Voice Unbound. I am so excited today to have a guest that I met online. And again, these things are so cool how we can meet online, the power of social media and letting us come together in the unique way of finding each other through podcast group. And she volunteered to be on, and we had our pre-call, and we just enjoyed our conversation. I felt a connection, and I was inspired by our conversation and what she does. But I'm not going to tell all that because you know what? I like my guests to share how they got to where they are today and how that led them to doing what they do. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to be inspired because of what she is doing in her life and how she got there. So welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. Great to be
Yes.
here.
And share your name because I don't want to botch it up. And I didn't say it purposely. I'm going to be honest. I would just say Krista. And I know there's more to it. So I was like, nope, I'm going to let her say her name.
Yes, it's Krystalore Cruz. My grandmother's name is Laura, and her middle name is Crystal. So my mom switched them and put them together.
How
So
cool
I'm
is
the
that?
only one in the world. So
Oh, and that's so special because now that has such meaning for you. Yeah, I love that. Beautiful.
yeah,
So
it's
take us
interesting.
back.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, take us back to where you were born and it looks like there's some good history with your grandfather and stuff. So just take us back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's interesting that I was going to share about my name, when you said you were just going to call me Krista, a lot of people earlier on in my journey, I would say, just call me Crystal. That's easy for everyone. And when it comes to stepping into your full identity, what I've learned is
Mm,
honoring my whole name. So I'm like, I really would prefer it to be called Chrysalora. And
yeah.
for so long I would shorten and this goes along with my story. I would shorten things to make people feel comfortable, to
Mm,
shrink myself to fit in places and spaces, just to belong, to get along, to fit in,
mm,
to feel
yeah.
loved. And so I'll just take you back a little bit of a journey with me. I just retired after 22 years in the military in the United States Air
Wow.
Force.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an amazing journey. Since high school, I joined right after 9/11 to help pay for
Mm,
college. And, I actually joined with my best friend right after 9/11. We just kind of went through this journey together. And quite honestly, a lot of people thought I would fail. They thought that I wouldn't make it.
mhm.
And they ended up putting me in charge and teaching, teaching the guys how to do
Yeah,
push-ups
uh-huh.
after the
Uh-huh.
first week.
We show
So,
them.
yeah, it's been quite a journey. A lot of seasons of change and transition. And since then, I was an NFL cheerleader and just a couple highlights, and then we can unpeel some of the
Yeah,
layers as
yeah,
we
yeah,
kind of guessed.
yeah.
But I have a very diverse background. Being 22 years in the military, I was in construction. I was an NFL cheerleader. And one pivotal point in my life was when I was in the NFL. I was actually in my senior year of my undergrad. I had a boyfriend at the time, and I realized I was in a toxic, abusive relationship.
Mm,
And I ended up actually being in a wheelchair for almost 6 months. And
mhm,
those were some of the most challenging times, going from the height of being in the NFL
yeah.
to like growing in my military career, like being an adult at
Mhm,
22.
mhm,
And I realized that not only was I in a toxic, abusive relationship with the man that I was with, but I was burnt out. I was depressed. I was overwhelmed. I was
mm,
stressed. I was overworked, overtrained.
yeah.
And I was in a toxic, abusive relationship with myself and my health.
How long were you in that relationship?
6 years.
Mm. And what was it that you felt that kept you there? I mean, I've been there, so I get 15 years for me. So I
Yeah.
know there's like you keep making excuses, right?
Yes, and I think a lot of us, we get comfortable, right? And
Mhm.
we're like, "Well, this is all that we're good for," or in you may hear from your spouse or your partner or this person that's in your life, especially if they're toxic or narcissistic, that there's no one else that, you'll never get anything else, or you'll
Right.
never
You're
be,
not worth
what are
anything.
you gonna do without me?
Yep.
And so I listened to that.
Yeah.
And that became my normal. And it wasn't until there was a physical
Mm.
interaction that made me wake up and my whole body shut down. Right. And I, got out of that toxic relationship. I started finding freedom in the power of movement, mindfulness. I got therapy. I had to develop some resilience tools at the young age of 22 when I shopped for my first apartment in a wheelchair.
Mm. Mm. That had to be eye-opening for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
that's I mean, you're and you never imagine, like, you were at the height of your life and military, here you are, a woman in the military, and that was still fresh, and
mhm,
again, they're looking at you like, "Oh, who's this girl gonna do? She ain't gonna make it," and they said that about my granddaughter too, and she came out on top too. She did just fine. Um, but then the cheerleading thing, that's a high stamina thing. That's, people look at you for that, and here you are, and I've heard this too again, though, in the sports arena, sadly, of women being in abusive relationships. Um, it seems very popular, and I don't like that. And that's just sad to hear. And then trying to get out of it. I ignored red flags for so long. I made excuses for him. Oh, it's just me. I can change him. I will make things different for us. I just need to step it up. And you keep doing those things while you're what? Losing yourself, losing your identity. And I'm sure you didn't want a whole lot of people knowing that was going on in your home. So what happens to your voice?
bingo. Yeah, and so what I found too, you make a really great point about your voice and not to get too graphic, but really choked. So between that paired with emotions at the door, you know, there were times where people just said, "You're too energetic, you have too many ideas, go sit in the corner and don't speak until you're spoken to."
Mm, mm.
And so pair that with like I was a runner and a cheerleader. So I was a performer.
Oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of my emotions came out in the form of dance and
Mm-hmm.
expression
Mm-hmm.
and how I need to do more. I need to be more. I need to look better. I need to be
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
and just do more, 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 more and
Mm,
prove myself. Right. And,
yeah.
but that was all through the use of expression in my body. And it wasn't until later on in 2017 where I had another identity crisis. I ended up fast forward, met my husband, and he was also in the military. We had to move away from everything for his job. And I was once again in an identity crisis without a job,
Mm.
broke, away from my friends, away from my family. And I had to rebuild again.
Again. Yeah.
Yeah. And thankfully, I developed a lot of these tools in which I share in my courses, in my books, and in my retreats
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But I had to start over and really just trying to figure out, okay, like what can I do
Mm,
um, to really piece it all together?
mm-hmm.
And in order to have hope, I had to get down to the root of who I was and
Yeah.
where my voice actually came from was a caged pit bull, like trying to get out, like
Mm-hmm.
physically. I
Mm-hmm.
was like shaking. I'm like, I need to get out. Like I had such emotion and drive inside of me that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to help people. I want to speak. I want to be on stages. I want to coach. I want to mentor. I want to sell out a Marriott. I want to be an
Yeah.
international. Like, I was like, I have a voice. I have something to share. I
Mm-hmm.
want to shorten the time period of self doubt and stress and overwhelm for people to
Mm.
empower them to put themselves and their health first. Because
Yeah.
I, for too long, stayed quiet and played small and fit myself into boxes. And it was like this position in the military, thankfully, empowered me to have a stage, to have a voice.
Mm.
So I ended up getting certified as an emotional intelligence coach, personality, leadership
Uh,
consultant, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So now you can't shut me up because I'm
yeah.
like, I found myself. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is what I grew through all of these painful experiences.
Mhm.
I skipped over the cancer part too, but I also had that because I was so craving
Mm.
to be worthy, and it was like literally the stress in my brain and the stress in for those of you listening out there, the stress in your brain manifests itself physically.
Mhm.
And until you pay attention, so when there's
Mhm.
tension, pay attention, I always say, but until you pay attention, it's going to continue to try to knock you down and take you out. And it's going to show up in different ways. And it wasn't until I finally listened and like, okay, I surrender.
Yeah. That's a big
Okay, let's
word,
do this.
surrender. I mean,
Yeah,
as women, we find it hard to surrender. That means giving up our power, it almost feels like, but who has the power? The higher power, you know? And surrendering to him is how I had to just on my knees here. I'm yours. You've got to take over.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and that comes in the form of, a lot of people are like, "Surrender, what does that mean?" Like, taking your power back, taking your voice back, like, where do I even start?
Mhm.
And that's what I love to train is giving tangible, tactical ways, just small things that we can do each and every day. So that might mean just falling in love with yourself, getting to know
Yeah.
yourself, your core values, your goals, your dreams, that childhood, that play and that fun, that
Mhm.
zestful side of you,
Mhm.
like bring that back out. It might mean finding a hobby, joining a group, getting in community, ridding yourself of toxic, abusive relationships.
Relationships. Yeah. It doesn't
Yes,
have to be a spouse. It can be friendships. There's been
it can,
friendships that I've had to say, I just can't anymore. This has to end."
yeah. It can also be not asking for help
Mm,
and delegating the ability to take, like, we just feel like we have to take on the world and everything in it and save
yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
and be this person for everyone. And then inside we're dying inside.
Mhm.
And that's where the resentment comes in, and so I love to help women, especially, put themselves back in the driver's seat to be empowered, to ask for help, that it's courageous, to delegate, and, I've been in the last 3 years, I've been building an incredible team. Shout out to my
Mm,
dream team. It's been an amazing, beautiful gift that I too can be poured into, that I too am worthy of asking for help, and
mhm.
I too am going through even the most challenging time in my life. That husband that I shared with you, unfortunately, 1 year ago, I found him to be unfaithful.
Mhm.
And a guy said, God's like, hang on, you want to help people in seasons of change? We're going to test
There you
this model
go.
one more time. Let's see how you do.
Yeah.
And thankfully, this time, this was the community, the very community that I built that I needed
At that
and
time.
that
Yeah.
uplifted me. And it has been beautiful.
Mm,
So I just share for people out there, just one little thing at a time because, and making sure you're in the right community, in the right circle, and you are worthy of asking for help
mhm.
and being vulnerable. And that's why I love to share this message right in the middle of it. Like, I'm in the
Mhm.
middle of it and I'm still showing up powerfully and owning my truth and I'm using my voice now in the moment. And 10 years ago, the old version, unhealed version
You
of
would have been
me
silenced even
would
more.
have been silenced.
Mhm.
And I have chills through my body right now because I'm so proud.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we have to do, and it's so easily in this world, for women to cower down and stay there. And each of us has deep core dreams, deep core knowing that God has more for us and our purpose and what we're to do in life. And we hold back because of the fear and the ashamed.
mm,
And living in that relationship for 15 years, I didn't want people to know, either. And I was ashamed of what happened. And who, like you've been told so many times, who's going to want me? Who's going to like me? Who's going to want to be a part of my life? I was awful for letting that happen that long. But God, He made sure of that, you are worthy. You are worth getting up off your knees and doing more. And stay on your knees too and pray more,
mm,
but, he's had led me 2 years of healing, through that. I had to find and love myself again, like you said. Walk that walk of knowing my worth and opening my voice and using it, and, um, and then meeting the man of my dreams, and we've been married 28 years in March, and I didn't think I was worthy of that. I even in those first year of that marriage, I was still very like, "Oh, is something's gonna happen, this just can't be true. There's no way this is really real." And no, you know, if you trust God, He provides again and perfectly for you. And then leading me to this podcast and leading me into my coaching business and all those things that I had kind of put on the back burner, thinking again, well, who's going to listen? Why would I want to do something like that? But if you stop that talk and listen to your heart and your calling and go into it, is it going to be easy? It hasn't been easy, has it? You've had to
No.
work. Faith has feet. That's what I've learned. Faith has feet. You've got to take action in order to accomplish things that are in your heart. And He'll bless you and He'll give you the tools to get there. He's not promising it's going to be easy, but he walks you through it. Like you've had the different things that you've walked through, but now you have a way of teaching and helping other women that have gone through those things,
Yeah.
and they see your resilience and they see your smile and your power and the way you hold your body because you are so confident in what you've been called into. And you're doing it without shame and without remorse and anger. And, we could be bitter. And it's like I said, I could be sad right now in the hard that I'm living. My husband has stage 4 colon cancer. And yeah, I could be in a bed, sad, laying there, depressed. But why? I have him each day still, and I have time with him, and God's providing whatever and however it goes and turns out. I'm trusting him, right?
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah. And your cancer journey, how long was that for you?
So 2019 was the entire year was basically off my calendar. And that was right before COVID. And
Yeah.
so most people's 2020 of a dumpster fire was my 2019.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, back then I really didn't have a voice. And it's
Mm,
funny, oh, I don't, it's outside, but the I literally was nobody knew. 'Cause
mm,
I didn't feel safe, I didn't feel like going into work, there have been so many times where I was shut down and
mhm,
not heard that I didn't really tell anyone. And it
mm,
wasn't until on March 17th of 2020, I received a phone call from a colleague, and she said, "Hey," it was during COVID, right? She's like,
yeah,
"Hey, all the gyms shut down. I know you teach all these workouts, you stream all these things, you started an online
yeah,
business in 2017." So, so I had all the tools. I actually had we talked about Zoom before we came
yeah,
live here, but I had freeconferencecall.com. That's how I got certified as a coach before Zoom. So I had all the tools. I took a MailChimp class. Like I was studying Facebook, how to do all of that online stuff well
yeah,
before
yeah,
COVID. So she said, "Can you stream something online? We all the gyms just shut down and you teach all
yeah,
these workouts. Can you do something
yeah.
online?" So I did. And
Oh,
I had cancer surgery in October of 2019. And I almost threw in the towel of my business. I was like, I'm not meant for this online thing. I can't do this. And I almost threw in the towel of life too, quite
mm,
honestly. And nobody really knew that that phone call that her name's Rhonda, and I love her. Shout out to Rhonda. She called me, and that call saved my life.
mm,
And I wasn't even cleared by my doctors yet. And I was like, I'm answering the nation's call to serve again and
mhm.
say, what can I do with what I've got? Rolled up my sleeves like I always do. I'm like, all
Yeah,
right, how can I
yeah.
serve? So I taught 30-minute boot camps at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Oh,
every
how
single
cool.
day during COVID for free
Wow. Oh
for
my
months.
gosh. Oh,
Yeah. So that
and it
was the
was
start of the rebuild and
yeah, yeah.
live on camera. And the
Well,
first one was
look
sideways
how
and
many
ugly.
people you blessed through that time that felt so alone. That's why I feel like community is even more important now because of what all it affected everybody. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody escaped that, of what it did to you. I mean, of course, my husband and I enjoyed the downtime because we're on the road all the time. So we took it in. We were like, "Whew, this is kind of nice. We get to be home for a few days." As we traveled, we'd come home and then the weekend repack and go back out again or be gone for weeks. But it was very impactful to a lot of people and how it took away from their family and being able to be near each other and the regular gym days and people that are so dedicated and not being able to get out and do that. That's depression. I mean, that
Yep.
can send into depression so fast. So you gave that light to them and and you needed that. that was a rebuild for you. There's a little gnat bugging me here. But yeah, that gave you time to be able to rebuild in yourself, and so it was
Yeah.
more impactful for you probably than anybody knew.
Yeah, it really was. And, I had already had experience starting over coming out of that wheelchair, like crawling
Mhm.
before I could walk. Fast
Mhm.
forward, I've run 26 marathons in a 50-mile race, and I don't even take ibuprofen. So this is the
I
power
love
of
it.
this movement, right?
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to modify. And this is really important because a lot of people see me as this NFL cheerleader, beautiful six pack,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Barbie looking like
Muscles. Yeah.
perfection. Right? And I have grown sideways. I grew sideways in that wheelchair. I was operating on my hand and my leg at the same time, so I could barely move or else my
Mm.
incisions would burst open. So I had to modify. I had to take a step back and I couldn't. And so we compare ourselves prior to COVID, prior to baby, prior to us
Mhm.
losing ourselves. And then we think we got to go back to that.
To that.
Our mind is there,
Yeah.
so this comparison creeps in. So I had to just do little movements every single day, one small step. And so for those of you out there that are in your comeback or your bounce back
Mhm.
season or you're going through something, this is a thing. And we
Mhm.
struggle. We all struggle with this.
Yeah.
And so that's why community is so important to be able to offer all different options. And so from the bottom of my heart, I know the depths of what that feels like.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's like, how come you say exactly what I need to say when I need it? Like, 'cause
'Cause I've
I'm
been
there.
there. Yeah.
And it
Yes,
was
I've
just highlight
experienced it.
reel. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Like, I mean, yes, thank you, but it's a
Yeah.
daily activity. It's a daily discipline, and I still have to work at it. At my voice, my worthiness, my
Mhm.
negative self-talk, my fears, my insecurities,
Mhm.
that we keep showing up anyways.
Every single day. And I tell people, because like go to therapy, go to this or that, or have a coach, and they think they're healed, they're done. I'm like, no,
Never done.
healing is forever. And it's like, I guess we talked about, before, is peeling a layer off each time. And God brings you to that level, and that's where you're going to inspire and do. And then you got another level of healing, and it's peel that layer off. I think he walks us into those as he knows we're prepared and ready for it. Um,
Absolutely.
I wasn't ready for what took place 2 years ago. I kept saying, I'm good. I had a great childhood. I don't need any type of healing. My coach figured that out real quick. I think you do. I was like, oh my word. Okay. I'll go through the program just to go through it because I want to learn. I want to hear about it anyway. I've heard great things about it. And when I went through that 180 method, I was like, okay, mm, you got me.
Mhm.
I did have some healing that something came up that I had buried so deep that I had totally blocked it out, but I hadn't because if I looked back through my life and walked through, I saw how it affected my decisions and what I did. And I'm like, wow, so many. And I say women, there's a lot of men that carry it also. I don't want to
Mhm.
count them out, but we always, think about women and how we carry the world anyway on us and how we do things and how we just bury it. We just keep going. We don't need to worry about that right now. We don't need to worry about that. We'll just keep tucking that in. Nobody needs to know, you know, and then you have that
Bye.
breaking point. Yeah, smile. Just keep smiling and looking good and being okay. And I catch myself when people say, how are you today? And I'll say, oh, I'm okay. Are you really? I ask myself in my head, are you really? What's going on today? And I don't know if you've ever had an energy session. I got to experience that in Utah at a conference I was at last month, and I had not had it. And she was a beautiful Christian woman and does this. And she said, you don't allow your pain to go to the level it needs to. You take it so far and you stop it because you don't want anybody to really know the pain you're feeling right now, which is with my husband and all that going on. And she said, it's okay for you to allow that pain. And I was like, oh, I don't want to allow that pain because it feels like I'm accepting what's going on and I don't want to accept it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I want to accept that he's going to get better and things are going to be okay. But it was a really neat experience. And I at first was like, oh, I don't do that. I'm afraid that of that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know about that, but she was very, very good at how she walked you through it. And but an experience I won't forget. So there's always healing. And I think you see that in yours too as well, and the programs now that you provide. So tell me a little bit about, I know you have some retreats that you
Mhm.
do, which excited me to see. So tell me about those.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the retreats are all-inclusive experiences. So I have a couple different options. The main option is a women's wellness retreat. And we have two coming up, one in Puerto Rico in April of 2025, and one in August in Costa Rica of
Ah,
2025. So there's two options. They're the same curriculum in the same terrain, beautiful, magical jungle and beach and oh, just serene, it's just amazing. But it is a sisterhood. So it's an intimate, it's no more than 12 people. And so we do have spots open for both still. So they are selling out fast though. And so we do an element of fitness, mindfulness, there's meditation, there's yoga, we do some spa sessions. It's for the woman that really takes on everything for everyone,
yes,
and
yes.
it's their turn to revive and thrive and really set some manageable goals, dissect their life of what is causing them stress and overwhelm, see what kind of problem solving we can do. There's people that, come that have sugar addictions, that want to, they're,
Me.
yeah,
I can raise my
perfectionist
hand on that one.
workers. Yeah. What's really beautiful about this experience, which I love, is kind of the element of surprise, and we said the word earlier is surrender, is
Mm,
training these women and helping them be in a safe space to receive to receive the love, to receive the gift of themselves, of
mm,
just
and that's
so
deep.
nobody's allowed to touch a dish. You're not allowed to pick up your garbage. You're not allowed to do your laundry. Oh, by the way, there's no schedule. You don't get the schedule till the night before. So we
You're not
practice
anticipating on
present.
what's happening. Yeah. I just
Correct.
experienced a weekend like that. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you've ever heard of Walk to Emmaus.
No.
Oh my goodness. I get chills just saying the words. My daughter-in-law invited me and I kept asking questions and she's like, don't anticipate. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to pick you up and don't anticipate. You don't have a phone. You don't have your watch. You leave it home. And so my husband had an emergency contact number. That was all taken care of. And when you arrive, I was just like, I don't know what to I didn't know what to expect. And I kept trying to calculate what was going to happen, what was going to do that. You don't. And I
Nope.
mean, it was the most beautiful experience I've ever had in my life. And the connection, the closeness with God that you received in that moment and the love that was shown. I mean, every time we walked in, there was little bed drops all over our, gifts on our bed and gifts at the
Uh-huh.
table when we ate and just little handmade things that they made. I had all these little like angels and things, this
Mhm.
precious, precious things given. And then, oh, it was just, I can't talk about a lot of it because if anybody goes through it, they don't need to know.
Nope.
They need to
Correct.
go in on it. But that was the surrender. I mean, that was a huge surrender for me because I'm
Yep.
a very time oriented person. I think about this, I got to know this, and I don't want to go into the unknown and not knowing what's happening. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't miss my phone. I didn't miss my watch. And if they tell you we got this much time, you've got this much time. That's how you went by your time. Well, I
Yep.
guess it's about time for breakfast. Well, we had no clue what time it
Uh-huh.
was. It was incredible. So that would be beautiful to experience in that. And so this is for any women at whatever physical level they're at, right? Because a lot of times they
Yes.
think when you've got something like this, you've got to be fit and you've got to be
Nope.
ready. Yeah.
No, all levels, all abilities. There is something for everyone. And, I'm really here to meet you wherever you're at in your personal growth journey, in your fitness journey. And it is just such a beautiful experience where everyone is coming from all different places and spaces and
Oh, I can imagine.
abilities.
So, yeah,
And
I love when that comes together like that because that is the people that are meant to be there. And the connections are incredible. That was
yes.
something in January once because we've been off the road since August a year ago. And in January, I said, okay, God, I want to, if you see fit, to be in a room every month. I want to feel that energy. I want to be around these people because that's what I need. And he has put me in a room every single month, and it's been gorgeous and beautiful and experiencing all those things. And so next year, my calendar's starting to fill up because I want to come to your event. I can feel it. I need to be there. So
Oh, I
I've
would
got to
be
get
so
more info on that, and of course I'll put it in the show notes so we can have connection for that for people listening. How many do you usually allow to the event?
These ones are 12 people.
Yeah, good
And
number.
then yes, 12 max, plus my team. So I have an incredible team that just pours into you and treats you like
Oh,
the queen that you deserve to be treated.
yeah, yeah.
So there is another option. There is a co-ed option that is in May in Puerto Rico here, and it's a book writing retreat. So if you have a message or if you have something on your heart to be a speaker or an author someday, you don't even have
Oh,
to have the
cool.
idea. You just
That's
have to have the
awesome.
nudge.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got quite a few friends that are in the book arena of wanting to
Mhm.
write a book, so that would be good. So we'll have all that good stuff in the show notes and talk about it so they can have that chance to look into it as well. I'm
Yeah.
sure your classes fill up fast
Hmm.
because they're known, and yeah, so we'll have to be looking at that pretty quick. Do you
Yeah.
do like down payment and that kind of
Oh,
stuff? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Lots of payment plans, lots of options.
Okay.
And also, fun fact, if anybody's discounting themselves, PayPal has a relatively new option where it's like a layaway. I know during COVID, I bought a Peloton. I'm still paying like 40 bucks a month on it.
Yeah.
Um, so don't discount yourself. It's a great investment, which you can extend the payment. So if there are challenges,
Yeah,
financially,
yeah.
there's
Well,
I'm willing to
everybody's
have
facing that
conversations.
right now, and that's
Correct.
thing. I'm doing through my coaching certifications, so paying that and my marketing
Mhm.
guy. There's things, but it's an investment, and that's what I kept telling myself. I'm finally investing in me to do the things I need to do, and I've always invested in others, and I still do. But I'm saying you finally have to accept, hey, I can invest in myself. It's okay to do that, and you're not be ashamed or afraid to do it. And so, yeah, I'm excited to where it's taken us and what's happening in both our worlds. I mean, it's just another God thing for sure, and where we
Always,
are in
he's
our
always
life.
winking at us.
Yeah, yeah, those whispers. I love the whispers. I had another girl that shared at one of the conferences out. She just felt that whisper. And when you
Mhm.
feel it, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it
Yes.
because that's what we're accustomed to do. Just talk
Mhm.
to that. I'll deal with that later. I'm a mom. I'm this. I'm that. I'm too busy. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I was a mother, but we pour ourselves so much into that one thing thinking we can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things that you can do. And there's lots of time. It's how we're using our time. And that's something I've been really focusing on this year is blocking and doing and making sure that I'm using it wisely, not just scrolling, you know, making
Mhm.
sure I'm doing things that are benefiting others and lifting others up. Well, I'm going to ask one question before we jump off, and it's been so fun having you on. What is something you like to collect?
Ooh, oh gosh.
I love when everybody says it's like, oh, should I tell them?
Okay, so I collect accessories.
Oh,
Which accessories being bathing suits, scarves, shoes, earrings, jackets.
mm. You
So
should have
like,
been at my estate sale this weekend. She had the most beautiful scarves. I mean,
mm,
they were so pretty. And then her clothing, and so it was right my size. And I've been looking for my pink jacket and a gold one. And they were the right color. And they fit. I was so excited. I was
um,
like, I finally have my jackets for conference because I had ordered a couple and I didn't like them. I sent them back. And I just had not found one that I liked. And I was so glad she had those. So another blessing in doing these sales. But those
yeah,
are cool. I mean, those are great accessories because it's important to feel good in what you're wearing and how you look. Sometimes I'll be dressed up and I'll come out for the podcast where I'm just like, where are you going? I said, nowhere. I want to be dressed. I want to feel good, and what I'm doing and not just show up in a t-shirt, that it's
mhm,
easy to do. Right.
yeah.
So yeah, or
Well,
throw a little
especially
lip
here.
gloss on. Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually a cover-up dress. Um,
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, you've got right there at the water. So, hey, I'll probably be
yeah,
right there with you. You are
mhm,
coming from, tell everybody where you're coming from today.
Puerto
Puerto
Rico. So
Rico.
10
How's
steps
the
from the
weather
ocean.
been? I mean, have you had any problems with the hurricanes or anything?
I actually was traveling. I was hosting a retreat last weekend in Buffalo, New York. So I
Oh,
was not here. I just
whoa.
got back yesterday. So Yeah, so it's beautiful, 90 and sunny. I can see the ocean from here, right here from my
Yeah.
balcony, but
Yeah.
it looks beautiful. I taught
Yeah.
a boot camp out there this morning,
Oh,
and
fun, fun.
so it's been good. But last week, I think they got a little bit of rain,
Yeah.
but I wasn't here for it, so
Yeah,
I
I
brought the
know
sunshine
next week
back.
they've got another one coming through, so I'm hoping and praying. It's supposed to do
Yes.
like the same path again. There's been so much destruction on this one. I mean, Tim and I were talking, like we always say, well, I wouldn't want to live on the beach because of the hurricanes. I'm like, I guess it doesn't matter. It came all
Yep.
the way up and destroyed all these states like it did. It doesn't matter where you live. So,
Yeah, and
ugh,
from Buffalo too, like we're used to blizzards. If you're in
yeah,
Oklahoma, you get
yeah.
tornadoes, like wildfires. Wherever you're at, there's
Wherever
going to
you
be
are, you're going to hit
something.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, thank you. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast today. I truly enjoyed our time together.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.